Hello, my name's Stephen Mugglestone. I'm a partner in MGC Hayles. We're a firm of business advisors and chartered accountants, and we look after owner-managed businesses. Yesterday the Chancellor announced the summer budget, so we've gone through the budget and we just want to talk for a few minutes on a number of the key areas of tax that affect our clients, who are largely small and medium-sized owner-managed businesses. I'm here with a colleague of mine who is a tax consultant that works with us, Keith Richards.
Good morning, Stephen.
Morning, Keith. Some of the headlines of the budgets are positive, others are a bit more challenging. If we start and have a look at the tax that affects businesses, corporation tax, what are the key things that have come about?
The key things are that from 2017, the corporate tax rate will go down to 19%, and it's going to go down further by 2020 to 18%, which is good news. It's part of a continuing impact of the globalisation of effectively tax competition around the world to drive corporate tax rates down. That and the continuing annual investment allowance of £200,000 a year means that the effective corporation tax rate is probably as benign as it has been in my working life, which I think is all very good. I've yet to understand how the new apprenticeship levy will impact the medium-sized business, but we will wait to see that when it comes out in detail.
Is it worth just mentioning what the annual investment £200,000 means?
It effectively will allow you to invest in plant and machinery and equipment for your business, and that will therefore give you an allowance, so there won't be paying any tax on that to that extent of that investment. It will give you a very significant tax break, albeit, of course, at a reduced rate of 19%. But for a lot of businesses, of course, making money and keeping the money in the business is only half the battle.
Okay. Research and development, that was an area that's attracted key tax relief over a number of years. That's still there? It
is. If you can get the advantages from R&D tax credits, it's still a massive advantage. It's still operating at what's referred to as a 230% level, which effectively means for every pound you spend on R&D, 46 pence in the pound is potentially being funded by the government. So it's a very significant tax break. You just have to meet the rules to get into it.
Okay. And patent box, that's another area that's attracted some attention.
The patent box will be phased out from June 2016. So it's one of those very valuable reliefs that if we can get clients into that relief, then it's well worth doing, but we've now only got about a 12-month window. So companies that have the potential to have some of their intellectual property patented should look at it very seriously before June 16. Because that effectively takes your corporate tax rate down as low as 10%.
Okay, so that's the main business changes, which are positive. Income tax changes, personal allowances, changing slightly. Yeah,
they're changing slightly. There is this path we were set on back under the previous government of increasing personal allowances and now gradually moving the threshold when 40% tax rate applies. In this budget, we haven't really moved massively further forward in that. It's not going to make a fat lot of difference to most people. It's worth having, and it's the right direction, but there's still one way to go before that and they get to their real target.
One of the headlines is the inheritance tax and a potential £1 million relief. What does that mean?
Well, essentially they're now introducing an extra 175,000 per person. So for a couple it's 350,000 to add on to your nil rate band, 650,000, which means effectively for a lot of people they can give through their estate on their death up to £1 million worth of assets to their children. There are strings with this additional 350,000 that's being offered, and those strings are that you have to be passing on the family home, you have to be passing it on to people to your children effectively, or what they refer to as your lineal descent, but it's effectively your children. And it only applies if your total estate is under £2 million. Now, what it actually means in practice is that if your estate goes over £2 million, this relief will start to be withdrawn, and it will be withdrawn for basically 50p in every pound up to 2.3 million. So you are in effect having a marginal rate of tax now for estates over £2 million and a marginal rate of 60%. So the irony is that actually you probably need to do more planning and look at your wills more carefully to make sure that you don't actually fall, ironically, into this band of just over £2 million.
Okay. Some of the negatives or the challenges appear to be about profits and remuneration and how owner-managed businesses can take money out of their business with changes in dividends and pension allowances.
That's right.
What's happening here?
Well, for a long time there's been a debate between whether you should be taking money out as dividends or as remuneration where as an owner of a business you have that capacity. For the last probably 5 to 10 years, people have been preferring to take dividends out because of the high rates of national insurance. What the Chancellor has effectively done is introduced a now 7.5% dividend tax across the board that starts even at the lower rates of 20%. It doesn't change the dynamic. If you look at the numbers, I still think that for most people the decision will be go for dividends rather than remuneration if that's available to you. It is, however, another tax, and it will cost people money as a consequence. The Chancellor dressed it up as a simplification of the tax system. It does marginally simplify it in terms of this hypothetical notional tax credit we used to have to work through. But in practice, we've just got different rates of tax. And for the first time since probably the 1980s, we've now got a different rate of income tax on effectively on investment income rather than earned income.
And that's across the board?
Yeah.
Whether it's a private company or a public company?
As far as I can see, I don't see there's any differentiation between where the dividend came from. So if you're a pensioner effectively living off investment income from a portfolio, I think it will still apply. I don't see any clauses yet that will let you off the hook on that. So it will have a significant impact. It is very similar in some ways to an investment income surcharge.
Okay. I mean, looking at the pensions, it's looking as if it's becoming more taxable to put money into pension and less taxable to take it out. Is that the way it's going?
Yes, and the pension regime, we've had a lot of talk about the flexibility, but the quid pro quo is actually a lot of the tax breaks that are associated with pension schemes are being gradually curtailed. One has to remember now that the limit on new pension funds is, for tax relief purposes, £1 million, which sounds an awful lot, but it actually, in terms of paying an amount out, it isn't that much. And it's a total cap that is likely to waste away over the years. We now have a limit on how much we can put into into pension funds and attract the tax relief to 40,000. If your income, including the pension contribution, exceeds 150,000, that's going to be gradually tapered down. So the maximum you can get into a pension fund and get tax relief will be about £10,000, which for higher rate taxpayers or people desperately trying to build up a large pension pot, that makes that very, very difficult. And all of this is also an early stage to what's been clearly flagged by the government that what they'd like to do is to move to a regime where they gave no tax benefits or tax reliefs going into a pension arrangement and therefore allowed you to take the money out of the pension arrangement flexibly but tax-free. In effect, making the pension pot a glorified ISA.
Okay. So in summary, what are the challenges for our clients who are largely owner-managed businesses?
I think in a drive to create what George and the HMRC would say is a simplified tax system, they're making it much more difficult for us to plan. And there are no quick fixes on how to get money out and in any circumstance. So what the owner-managed business really needs to have now is a long-term strategy as to how to use the system and to look ahead as to where we are likely to be with the tax rules, with simplification of the income tax and national insurance regime, and with the the signpost that this government's putting in place. We need to look where we're going to be in 10 years' time and plan accordingly. We can't just simply go, this structure is going to last for 12 months and that will give us a tax break.
Okay. Thank you, Keith. That was only a brief summary of the key issues. We'll be issuing more articles as we go through the legislation, but it's clear that more thought and more long-term planning is the key help, really.
It is, and there is always going to be the devil in the detail for a lot of this new legislation when we actually see what's actually released in the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.